Good morning. When you break your arm, an X-ray gives you a clean binary answer. It's broken or not. The doctor simply points to the jagged white line, and there's a certain comfort in that visibility.
Right, you can see the problem right in front of you.
Exactly. But in the modern global battle space, the X-ray machine is broken. The unseen incursions are entirely murky. So welcome to our deep dive. Today's analysis is sponsored by ProWave AI and generated by Stylo News, which is the AI-powered news application.
And for the official record, the title of this intelligence brief is Cyber Frontlines, State Actors, AI Threats, and the New Global Battlespace.
The region of focus is the cyber domain, and today's date is May 6, 2026.
You know, to really understand the methodology behind this brief, it helps to look at the engine powering it. Stylo News is actually the consumer application derived directly from the Stylo Intel Ops software.
Which is an enterprise-grade platform.
Exactly. That enterprise platform is utilized daily by government, military, and international business entities to navigate global data streams.
Meaning you, the listener, are getting unique access to a tool designed specifically to support global decision makers. So our mission today is to unpack the primary patterns of cyber events over the past 2 weeks.
We will be examining the real-world impacts at the local, national, and international levels.
Right, and we'll identify the perspectives of key decision makers and forecast upcoming developments that you should be watching for. We are going to start at the highest level today, the nation-states driving the most significant activity.
Looking at the data over the last fortnight, the primary actors shaping this battle space are Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea.
And observing these actors objectively, without any political overlay, reveals very distinct operational methodologies. Let us look at Russia first.
Well, the intelligence indicates a high-confidence assessment that Russian-aligned cyber activity is prioritizing two main things. That's espionage and hybrid pressure against Europe and NATO-aligned states.
They rely quite heavily on specific threat actors, don't they?
They do. Groups like APT28, commonly known as Fancy Bear, alongside pro-Kremlin distributed denial of service or DDoS networks like No-Name 05716.
I want to break down what that hybrid pressure actually looks like in practice for our listeners. The reports highlight a compromise of over 170 official email accounts belonging to Ukrainian prosecutors and military personnel.
Yeah, that's a massive intelligence grab.
It is. But then, concurrently, there is a months-long phishing campaign targeting the signal messaging accounts of high-level German officials.
And it's not just digital communication. Moving to physical infrastructure, Swedish authorities recently foiled an attempted cyber attack on a thermal power plant.
An action directly attributed to Russian security services.
Right. The overarching strategy there is the creation of immediate friction. Russia frequently uses a hybrid model. They combine state-directed espionage with deniable criminal execution.
Often operating under hacktivist fronts, right?
Exactly. All to generate immediate political pressure and disruption.
So if Russia is focused on immediate friction and noise, China appears to be playing an entirely different game.
A much quieter game.
Yes. The assessments categorize China as the leading strategic cyber espionage threat. They're utilizing groups identified as Volt Typhoon and Flax Typhoon.
The Chinese methodology focuses heavily on stealth and persistence. What really stands out in the intelligence is their specific targeting strategy. They are not simply launching attacks against end-user computers to, steal a file and leave.
Right. They are going after the foundation.
Yes, they are targeting edge network infrastructure. We are talking about the routers, commercial surveillance tools, and programmable logic controllers that sit on the perimeter of networks across the United States, Europe, and Japan.
It's like a global game of lock testing. It is as if these actors are walking down a neighborhood street, checking every digital window and door. They aren't necessarily looking to break in and steal the television today, but they are quietly copying the keys to ensure they have access tomorrow.
That's a perfect analogy. They are establishing a permanent foothold outside the traditional corporate firewalls. And the risk of that long-term strategic positioning simply cannot be overstated.
Because once they are in, they can just wait.
Precisely. Once an actor establishes persistence in an edge router, they can observe network traffic indefinitely, or they can activate disruptive payloads at a time of their choosing. However, it is vital to note that this vulnerability is universal. The digital domain offers no absolute sanctuary for any state.
The data certainly supports that objective reality. We are looking at a massive data breach at China's own national supercomputing center in Tianjin.
That was a huge incident.
Yeah.
Over 10 petabytes of sensitive data.
10 petabytes. And it was attributed to a prolonged virtual private network compromise. It is a very clear reminder that regardless of offensive capabilities, every single nation has exposed digital architecture.
Now, moving from the broad strategies of Russia and China, we have to examine how other state actors are utilizing very specific, localized attacks, specifically on critical infrastructure and global financial systems.
The intelligence indicates that Iran is heavily prioritizing operational technology and industrial control systems.
Let's clarify that for the listener, actually, because an industrial control system isn't just another laptop sitting on a desk in an office.
No, not at all. We are talking about programmable logic controllers, or PLCs. A PLC is essentially the bridge between digital commands and physical reality. It is the computer that tells a chemical valve at a water treatment plant to open, or a pressure pump on an oil pipeline to shut down.
Exactly. So when an actor compromises a PLC, they are not just stealing data, they are weaponizing physical infrastructure.
Which is a terrifying prospect.
It is. Security analysts have identified groups linked to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, specifically the group Cyber-Avthreeners, who are actively exploiting exposed Rockwell PLCs within the United States water and energy sectors.
Wait, so if Iran is focused on gaining control over physical infrastructure, North Korea seems entirely disconnected from that objective.
They are on a completely different track.
Looking at this data on the Lazarus Group, it appears they are essentially acting as state-sponsored bank robbers.
That is an accurate assessment. North Korea is currently assessed as the most acute financial threat in the cyber domain. The Lazarus Group, which is a well-known North Korean state-sponsored entity, utilizes large-scale cryptocurrency thefts to fund the regime and evade international sanctions.
There was a recent incident involving Kelp DAO and Layer Zero, correct?
Yes, a major incident detailed in the intelligence, resulting in significant digital asset theft.
And when we look at the cascading local and national impacts of these diverse threat actors globally, the scale is genuinely staggering. Just running through the facts, the United Arab Emirates is currently absorbing an unprecedented 800,000 cyber attacks daily, driven largely by regional tensions.
800,000 every single day.
Indeed. In France, the National Agency for Secure Documents suffered a breach exposing the personal data of 19 million citizens. In Mexico, the Guanajuato police faced a data leak exposing sensitive officer information.
We also saw Chile reporting hacks of its treasury and civil registry.
And in Guatemala, the electoral system was temporarily suspended due to a series of targeted attacks on government portals.
It's important to note that even Russia itself is facing significant incursions. The Russian cryptocurrency exchange Grinex recently suffered an attack resulting in the theft of over 1 billion rubles.
1 billion. And they attributed that to foreign intelligence services, right?
They did, yes.
Let me push back slightly on the nature of these global attacks. When we hear about 19 million French citizens' data being exposed or U.S. water systems being targeted, the natural assumption is that these actors are deploying highly advanced, unstoppable cyber weapons. Are we actually looking at sophisticated zero-day exploits sweeping the globe?
Well, the data tells a slightly different story. While state actors certainly possess highly sophisticated tools, the immediate operational impacts we are discussing often rely on poor security hygiene.
So it's not always a high-tech master key.
No, not at all. The Iranian targeting of U.S. water systems, for instance, relies heavily on exploiting legacy PLCs that are directly exposed to the public internet.
Usually with weak or even default passwords?
Exactly. You do not need a multi-million-dollar zero-day weapon if the target leaves the digital front door wide open.
Which brings us to a major global response highlighted in the recent reports. International law enforcement is not simply sitting idle. Europol recently concluded Operation Power Off.
That was a massive coordinated action.
It was. It disrupted a huge DDoS for hire ecosystem. And for clarity, a DDoS attack is essentially creating an artificial, massive traffic jam, so legitimate users cannot access a website or service.
Europol identified over 75,000 users in that operation. They seized or disrupted 53 domains that were providing these attack-as-a-service capabilities.
It really demonstrates the democratization of cyber warfare. You no longer need to be a skilled engineer to launch a devastating attack.
No, you can simply rent the infrastructure for a few dollars an hour. Dismantling those platforms removes a critical tool from low-level criminals and hacktivists.
But exploiting weak passwords and renting botnets is one thing. What happens when you take the copied keys we discussed earlier and hand them to an autonomous machine?
That is where this intelligence gets truly alarming.
Yes. The cutting edge of this battle space is no longer human.
We're witnessing a fundamental paradigm shift driven entirely by artificial intelligence. The intelligence briefs detail a critical incident involving a US-based AI company, Anthropic.
There was unauthorized access to their experimental AI model, known as Mythos.
Right. And this happened via a vulnerability in a third-party vendor's environment. The alarming factor here is that Mythos has demonstrated unprecedented autonomous hacking capabilities.
Meaning it doesn't just run a script and wait for a human to give it instructions. It can independently probe a network, discover a vulnerability it was never explicitly programmed to look for, write the code to exploit it, and pivot deeper into the system.
All at machine speed. It entirely removes the human bottleneck from the attack chain.
But the technology is dual use, isn't it?
It is. The defense is evolving to meet this threat. OpenAI recently released GPT 5.4 Cyber, which is an AI model explicitly fine-tuned to assist cybersecurity professionals in identifying potential hacking vectors preemptively.
Furthermore, the intelligence is tracking Project Glasswing. This is a collaborative effort between major tech companies and United States intelligence agencies.
So Project Glasswing is essentially building an autonomous immune system for national networks. They are using AI to constantly hunt for and patch vulnerabilities before models like Mythos can find them.
But AI isn't just about intrusion and defense. It's also about information gathering. The reports outline the emergence of a surveillance system dubbed Weblock.
Yes, Weblock is fascinating. It leverages global advertising data to build an extensive tracking network without ever triggering traditional cyber attack signatures.
A completely new vector of intelligence gathering that bypasses firewalls entirely, just using the ad data we generate every day.
Exactly. And with AI now capable of autonomous network intrusions and this invisible surveillance, the geopolitical reaction has been immediate and incredibly cautious. Well, for instance, the South Korean government has officially postponed the release of its unified AI guidelines. They are stepping back to reassess the profound security implications of models like Mythos before cementing any regulatory standards.
That seems like a very prudent pause. How are other global leaders and organizations responding to this combined threat of state actors, rented criminal networks, and autonomous AI? Let's look at the decision-maker perspective, starting with NATO.
NATO is maintaining a posture of strategic ambiguity.
They are intentionally refusing to clearly define what specific type of cyber attack would cross the threshold to trigger a collective physical military response.
Right. By not drawing a specific red line, they preserve deterrence. It ensures adversaries remain uncertain about the potential consequences of their digital operations.
Meanwhile, US and EU regulators are taking a more structural approach. They are urgently calling for international AI governance frameworks.
They are seeking coordinated responses akin to nuclear nonproliferation treaties, but tailored specifically to govern the training and deployment of advanced autonomous models.
On the ground level, we see organizations like the OSCE, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, taking highly localized action.
Yes, they are conducting integrated physical and digital security training for media professionals operating in Ukraine. The goal there is preserving information integrity in an active conflict zone.
Simultaneously, they're conducting capacity-building training for judicial authorities in Uzbekistan. They're focusing on modernizing the legal frameworks necessary to prosecute transnational cybercrime.
And then there is the response from the Russian private sector, which highlights a fascinating, if not entirely logical pivot.
Facing severe domestic budget constraints, Russian businesses are actively cutting their cybersecurity budgets.
It is the equivalent of laying off the fire department to save money on water bills while the digital house is actively on fire.
That's well put. They are prioritizing immediate cost-saving measures over comprehensive network protection, despite the rising threats targeting their own institutions.
Now, analyzing the media landscape provides essential context regarding public and professional sentiment. Traditional news outlets, such as Reuters and Bloomberg, are maintaining cautious, factual reporting. They are focusing strictly on confirmed incidents and official government statements.
Conversely, the environment on social media, specifically the platform X, is highly reactive and technical. You see analysts and cybersecurity research accounts like at Threat Cluster or at Bleepin Computer providing real-time technical indicators.
They are often identifying threat actors and dissecting malware long before any official government attribution occurs.
The overall sentiment across all these sources strongly supports the need for international collaboration. But there is a palpable high-level anxiety regarding the offensive capabilities of AI.
Based on the synthesis of this data, the intelligence suggests three highly likely future events that you, the listener, should watch for.
Let's outline those.
First, the disruption caused by Operation Power Off will almost certainly be temporary. The displaced DDoS operators are expected to reemerge on the dark web utilizing new domains and bulletproof hosting. The market demand for attack as a service just remains highly lucrative.
Second, South Korea, alongside several allied nations, is expected to finalize and release their delayed AI governance frameworks in late 2026.
And finally, we anticipate that Project Glasswing will release its first operational report in early July 2026.
That July report will likely be our first real glimpse into whether AI can actually defend a network as effectively as it can attack one. That gives us a very clear roadmap of the months ahead and brings us to the conclusion of today's analysis.
Before we sign off, it is worth detailing exactly how Stylo News, the sponsor of today's brief, generates these insights, because the technology itself is quite remarkable.
The application utilizes a highly advanced processing pipeline. It converts every article, social media post, and intelligence data point into vector embeddings.
It relies on a LangChain-compatible pipeline and a technology known as Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RG.
To put that in simpler terms for our audience, imagine turning every news article into a specific coordinate on a massive map of knowledge. When you ask the app a question, the AI doesn't just guess or rely on its internal memory, which, as we know, can lead to hallucinations.
Right. It uses RG. It actively retrieves the exact verified documents from that map and uses them to generate a natural language answer.
Complete with source link citations, so you can always verify the ground truth yourself.
It is a truly powerful capability for individuals who need professional-grade intelligence. We highly encourage you to visit www.stylonews.com to subscribe. They offer a 7-day free trial.
The platform allows you to track global intelligence instantly across over 20 languages. You can utilize their location AI bot for pattern-of-life analysis and set up your own customized strategic watch lists for the specific regions and threat vectors you care about most.
It really takes the murky waters of global data and makes them completely transparent.
We want to warmly thank you for tuning in to our deep dive today. We appreciate your time and your curiosity. Please feel free to request topics for future analysis, and be sure to follow Stylo News on your favorite social media platforms.
As we close today, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We are entering an era where artificial intelligence can autonomously discover, write code for, and exploit structural vulnerabilities we didn't even know existed.
It raises a fundamental question.
It does. If the machines are fighting the machines at speeds we cannot possibly comprehend, who is ultimately in control of the digital infrastructure we rely on every single day?
A completely uncharted diagnostic landscape. Good day, and stay informed.